Hey, what's up, everybody? So, one of the videos you should have in your library of videos that you use for your business is a website presentation. Basically, what this is going to do is just show your website. It's going to highlight your website in video format. Video format is highly consumable format, so it's recommended you do videos, and one of those videos should highlight your website. So that's all it's going to really do is take your website, show what it is, show where it is, and show what it does and how it benefits people. So that's what this video is going to be about, is how to build a website presentation video using Camtasia. So I'm going to walk you through step by step on how I built my website presentation in Camtasia, and this is what it looks like.
As a business owner, how do you choose where to focus your marketing efforts? KenCollinsMarketing.com has the answers. Ken and his team offer design, marketing, and advertising solutions to fit you. Look for our messenger bot to get answers now. Learn more about our agency, get some DIY advice from our Ken Drives videos, or take a break with our talk show, Ken's Think Tank. KenCollinsMarketing.com has something to benefit you. Get a new website or logo at the most affordable rates in the industry. Our marketing services are the best you'll find. Get more reviews, better search engine rankings, and more. Our Facebook advertising service can scale from simple to incredibly complex and fantastically effective. Do yourself a favor in this ever-changing and confusing digital world. Visit KenCollinsMarketing.com. It's simple. We help business owners get more customers.
Okay, we're going to go through this really fast, so pause at any time so you can keep up. All right, so I'm going to import the screenshots that I have of my website. And basically what I've done here is in order to create these files, so they're just one continuous file image of your website, because you have to scroll through on your website. An easy way to get that done is to just start at the top of your website, grab a screenshot of it, save that as an image, and continue to do that all the way down your website. Get your screenshots so that you have some breaking points, because what you're going to do is crop off the top and bottoms of sections of each time you scroll to piece those sections back together into one image file. An easy thing to do is to use Photoshop to create those image files, but you can use any other graphics program, maybe even Windows Paint, Microsoft Paint, maybe. You might be able to use that, but that's what I did. I grabbed screenshots, scrolled through my website, grabbed screenshots of the pages that I wanted, and then I pieced those. So I cropped tops and bottoms off and pieced those together to create one image of my home page, one image of my design page, one image of my marketing page, and so on. When you're grabbing those screenshots, a good thing to do is to make sure that centered on the page in convenient ways are good spots to crop the top and bottom. So your screenshots themselves are going to overlap, but you're going to crop tops and bottoms off. And a good place to do that is in between paragraphs, something like that. So just find a good place where it makes it easy for you to stitch these two images together, the bottom of one with the top of the other. Of course, then cropping off bottoms. You don't want your title bar for your browser on there. You don't want your scroll bar on the side. You don't want those things on there. So you're just going to end up cropping them off and piecing them together as one image. And that way you have one image for each page that you want to highlight in your website presentation. And that's what I've done here, and that's what I am importing now. In Camtasia, there's a library. Go to the library, there's animated backgrounds, you'll see it there. So grab a background that works for you, drag it down to your timeline. This one happens to be pretty bright. It's going to work for me, but I need to dim it down a little bit. So I'm going to change the opacity to 30% here. That darkens it up so it's not stealing all the highlight. I'm going to drag my home page down to the timeline and make it bigger. So I want to scale this up. You can drag it, you can use the scale bar, or you can type numbers in. You'll see that. And I'm just going to center it up and make it look like would if you were to go straight to my website. Boom, there it is. So that's what it's going to look like when you go to my website. So we're going to pull that up and have that there. But I'm going to change the timing on this. So I'm going to pull down a clip speed deal so I can just set it to exact time I want, 3 seconds. That'll work for me. So that clip is going to last 3 seconds. My website will come up and it'll show for 3 seconds. I'm going to copy it, paste it, so I have a new clip so I can do some things on, set the clip speed again to it. This one's going to be 1 second, and I'm going to use it for an animation. So we're going to go to Animations, pull down a custom animation, and we're going to set this animation, basically I want the website to come down in scale and to move up to the top right of the corner. And I'm messing up here, so let me make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it on the screen and interact with it. There we go. So we're going to put it on the top right corner. We're going to scale it down, let's say about 35%. So 35%, that'll work. We're just going to pop it right into the top right corner. So it's going to scale down. We'll move our clip back to 1 second. And that way you can see it's going to go from one to the next. 1 point to the next. The animation is going to do that. We're going to pull that home page down again. We're going to set it to what we left it at, 35%. Popped into the top right hand corner. Boom, there it is. And let's see, we are going to add on a box. Basically, I want this to fade out so that it's not so bright for the next things we're going to do. So we'll just put a black box right over the top of it. You can find those in annotations. Just going to drag the sides and the top out here, just scale it to the exact size of what's showing on the screen for our web page or home page. Set the opacity down to about probably 50%. All right, so you can see what that's doing there. It's dimming it out. So let's put a transition on it so it's not just an immediate effect. So it's going to start big. It's going to scale down. There we go, to a smaller size and dim out. And now I need to import my buttons. Okay, so while I'm going out and grabbing those buttons to import into our project here, I'm going to highlight these buttons on the website and do that. You'll also notice that the animation, the way I'm showing you how to add animated clips onto this, you can add several animations to one clip. You don't need separate clips for each animation that you want to do, as I'm showing you to do here. But it does help when you're first learning this to kind of keep it all straight in your mind so that you know this clip does this thing, this clip does this thing, this clip does this thing. Instead of having one clip, you'll see on my home page, it starts one way and it animates to another way, and then it animates something else, and it does something else, and it does something else, and it does something else. And I've broken all those down into individual clips, so I keep having to drag the home page down to the timeline and do the next thing with it. That seems like extra steps, and just so we're clear on that, that is not necessary, and you can add all of your animations to one clip and have it done that way. But if you're just learning this, it sometimes helps to be able to quickly look at the timeline and know, okay, there's that clip and that clip and that clip and that clip. They're all the same image, they're all the same video, they're all the same whatever it is. But it's sometimes easier to keep it straight in your head, just quickly visually, what's going on in the timeline without having to click over and scroll through it. You can just look and go, okay, that's that and that and that and that. So your choice on the style that you want to do. I'm showing you how to do it in individual clips. It's not necessary. You can add multiple animations to one clip. Just wanted to go on the record by saying that. Okay, so we had our web pages. Now we've got our buttons imported into the media bin. So I'm going to drive my first button down here because I'm going to highlight them on the side. So that's about where I want it. My next button, I'm going to drag it down to the timeline. I'm going to move it over. This one is the center button, so it's real easy. You see that, to find the center. Now I'm going to readjust my top button so that the spacing is about right. Grab my third button. It's going to line up with these two buttons, and I can just kind of visually set the spacing right about there where I want it. Now we've got those three buttons. They're going to pop up on the side of my website, and that's why we've dimmed it down so these look better. Just going to add some fade transitions to the front of these. You know what? I need it to the back of it also. If you know you need the same transition on the front and back, you can just drag it right to the center. You can see that it pops up on the front and back. And I'll just put these on the back since I've already done that. There we go. So you can see how they're kind of fading in right there.
We can't forget Casey.
Okay, so now that we have Casey in there, forgot him for just a minute. Sorry, Casey. We're going to put him on the timeline, drag him over to where we need him to be, and add again the transitions to the front and back. So he'll fade in and fade out. Now we're going to mess with the clip speeds here. So this one I want about 3 seconds. It's the last one, and I'm going to back it up from there. Right? So 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and 5 seconds, and 6 seconds. So we're just going to move these over here so we can get the timing right. You can drag around, you can drag these clips to get timing. You can use the clip speed effect in the visual effects. You can use that to set the timing. So we'll do that. We've got 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Next one's down is 5 seconds. And these are animating from top to bottom, right? So this is all in layers. The things on the top show up behind. The things on the bottom show up behind. The things on the top show up next. So from bottom to top, we're animating these, so these buttons start fading in, and then all of them fade out at the same time. So we're going to move our black box and our home page over so that it matches the timing of these animations. And so you can see it dims out. The buttons start to come up. They start fading in. Casey fades in, and then they're all going to fade out at the same time. All right, so I've got those 3 buttons. We have 3 other buttons. I'm just taking these buttons from a website, right? And I already have them. That's how they're showing up on my website, as individual files. So I just brought those files over. We're going to put these in, move our shape and our home page, because we want that to stay for these next 3 buttons as well. Those layers to stay on there. So we've got first button, second button, and you notice how we need to put it where it needs to be, but we already have 3 buttons exactly where they need to be. So see that? I'm just going to move the clip over, move the button to where it needs to be so it matches exactly the positioning of the last button. Center button was our marketing button, so I'm going to position it over the marketing button. Boom! And now I match the positions exactly, right? And we're going to do the same for our third button down. We'll stick it on here over the top of our third button, our first third button, right? And boom, match the position exactly. Just move it over on the timeline where we need it to be. Everything pops into place so it all matches up. We're going to set the timing between these clips, about a half a second, somewhere in there. And set the timing on the clips themselves, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and 5 seconds. Then we're going to add our transitions back on there, stair step them again so they fade in one at a time and all fade out at the same time. So you can see now how these first 3 will fade out, as well as Casey, and then our next 3 buttons fade in one at a time, and then they will fade out just like the first buttons. They will fade out all at the same time. So now that we've got those set, let's just move them down, get them on this layer down here. Keep everything tight, and it is time to then get rid of that black box. So we're going to move all of this back over, the black box and the home page, so that it matches the end of our fade out for our second 3 buttons. We're going to pull the home page back down to the timeline, and let's see, I want this shape to fade out. So we're going to fade out the black box so that the website brightens up gradually. As the buttons fade out, the website brightens back up. You see that happening here. So we need to set our next clip for our home page, and that was going to start at 35%, popped into the top right corner, and boom. So there we go. Got it in the top right corner, and we're going to animate this one. So we'll grab a custom animation, and pop it on here. It's not doing exactly what I want it to. There we go. So now it's going to start right at the beginning. And we are going to set, perfect, what the end of that animation is going to be. So we're going to raise the size of it a little bit from 35 to 40% and bring it to the center. Okay. So pull the clip back so that it's just right into that 1 second animation. We're going to go back, put our home page back on there. Starting point is new at 40% and center, just like our end of our animation there. There we go. That is perfect. And drag this back to the end of our background animation. And throw an animation on this one so that we can get this website to scroll, the web page to scroll. So the end of our animation is going to just go all the way up right off of the edge of the screen. So that as this happens, you can see that our black box fades out. There we go. So that the web page becomes bright. Then as we move across here, it's going to come a little bit bigger, move itself to the center of the page and start scrolling. But we don't want that scroll to happen in 1 second. So let's just drag the animation to the end of the clip here. So it'll go all the way. So that animation will start at the begin point at 40% centered and then scroll up and off the page a little bit slower. Perfect. All right. So now we need to move into next steps. We're going to go and let's get this to fade out actually. Fade through a black. So it's just everything's going to dim out to black. We're going to grab our background animation again. Move between the first background and the second background in a fade to black. Right? So everything's just going to fade out, darken out. We're going to start our next phase of this website presentation. There we go. And it's still a little bit bright. I think I forgot to, there it is, set the opacity to 30% so the background's not stealing all the limelight. Perfect. Okay, back to our media. We're going to grab our next page. So we talked about our home page. Now we're going to talk about the design page because I'm going to walk through three pages of my website, design, marketing, and advertising. Those are my 3 sections. It's how it's set out, and that's how I'm doing this video. So we're going to set this to about 65%. I know that because that's going to show it about right there where that's a good first presentation of that website. Set the clip speed to 2 seconds. Perfect. Then we're going to go to transitions. We want this to fade in and out. So we can drag these transition timing to whatever we want. About 15 frames. This is 30 frames per second. So 15 frames is going to be a half a second. So this transition is going to take about a half a second on our design page. Here's a good trick that you can use to keep all of your timings really, really good. So we're going to set our next page to 65%. Set it at the top. And we're plunking this on top of the design page. That's not where it's going to end up, but we're using it to match. You see how boom, boom, everything is matching perfectly. We're going to grab our advertising page and do the same exact thing. Clip speed, back to the match all the rest of them, set a transition, boom, the timing of our transitions work. And now we're going to set these aside because we're going to have some other clips in between each of these. So we're just going to move them over on our timeline so we have some space in between. So our design pages is the first one, and that's the one we're going to work with first. So let's move our design page clip down. We're going to set it on top of here so we can copy the timing. Copy the timing of our fade transitions. There we go, front and back. We're going to move it over on our timeline. Give it a little bit of space in between. And this is a trick that I use sometimes. Just grab any image. Boom. I can copy. See what's happening there? I can copy the timing between clips just by using this image because of the snap. Everything is snapping into place.
So this needs to be set to 65%. Now about 40% I believe is what it was. Because what I want this to do is I want to put an animation on this clip so that the site scrolls. So it's going to come in big, it's going to fade out, and now I can put it at 40 just like I had my home page. Let's go 35. And center this. Let's do something tricky with it. So we're going to tip this. I just altered my z-axis. You can drag the little circle bar around, or you can set the number. I set it to 15 degrees. It's got a 15-degree tilt. I've got it set on the page visually about where I want it to start. So now we're going to add a custom animation. And here's the tricky part. How do we get it to scroll exactly, right? So let's undo that. And let's take the animation off of there. We're gonna copy it, paste it, and bring it back over here. Stick it on top. Boom. So now we have the starting position, right, of the first clip. The second clip is the one we're going to work with. We can put our animation on there. And now because that starting one is still on the page underneath it, it's real easy to drag this up. Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Boom, right there. That's where we want it to end. Okay? So that's the clip we're going to use. Get rid of the first one, move this one down, move the transition to the end of the clip. So it will just fade in and scroll up in a straight line at 15 degrees. How beautiful is that? Look at that. That's perfect. All right, so we've got our spacer here, my little logo spacer. So we can move our marketing page clip over. We're going to bring it down again, copy the timing, copy the fade transition timing. Move that out of the way. There we go. So there we go, popping into place so that we've got a match. Move it over. Move this over so we can copy the spacing. Boom. Right? We're just using that as a dummy image to make sure our spacing is uniform. So we were at 35% on that last clip with the scrolling animation. Let's set this to 35% again on the size, 15 degrees. Perfect. And it's not grabbing our other, that's about where it's sort of grabbing the starting position of our other clip. So we're going to copy, paste that, bring it back over here on the timeline. There we go. And we're going to do the same trick, right? The same thing we did on our last one. So we'll put an animation on this. Custom animation. There we go. And since our other one is underneath there, we can just move this up, pop it right into place on the top. There it is, so that it moves up in a straight line. Get rid of this one, we don't need it anymore. Move this down and move the transition out to the end of the clip. So now this one will come in and scroll up. Move our spacer over, our dummy spacer over. There we go. So you can see how this just scrolls up in a straight line at 15 degrees. Isn't that slick? Okay, and then there's our dummy spacer. We don't need that. So we're going to move over our advertising page. That's our third page we're working with. Bring it back down to the timeline. And we need to make a scroller for it too. So we're going to just use this to copy up our timing for our transitions, our clip length. There we go. Again, we're going to try and grab the starting position on this 35%, 15-degree tilt. Let's move it down until we see some bars pop up. There we go. Boom. So now we've got our starting position copied. I'll move this over on our timeline. Use our dummy image to set the spacing in between the clips. There we go. Okay, copy it, paste it, move it back over on top of here. Grab a custom animation, and there we go. And now we need the end of our animation to be just like the other two, popped right to the top of our page. And that way it scrolls up in a straight line. move the animation to the end of the clip, and we are set. There we go. So now this fades in and starts scrolling. All 3 pages will do the same thing. So they'll come up big, highlighted, and then fade out and show a 15-degree tilt and start scrolling up. Let's move our spacer over so we can keep our spacing. Grab the home page again. And we need to wrap up this kind of deal that we're doing here on highlighting those 3 pages and talk about the main website again. So we'll set it at 65% and center it. There we go, just like it was at the beginning, so everything looks normal and matched. Put a fade transition on it. There we go. Time it to the end of the background animation. So it's going to fade in and fade out again. Perfect. Okay. So this is what we're doing. It's going to fade in and stick there and then fade out. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. So let's go and grab our animated background again. Boom! Stick it on the end. We're going to triple this thing up. Set it to 30% opacity so it's dimmed down. Put a fade to black. So once again, between these animations, it's going to fade to black. And I'm going to set this transition a little bit smaller. So let's say right about there. So as our web page is fading out, you have to excuse my choppy website here while I'm recording this and using a video animator and doing all this stuff. It becomes a little bit choppy, so it has to wait to catch up a little bit. So you can see how it just fades out and blacks out and then comes right back in. Okay, so now we're going to grab my logo and move that over, and that reminds me I've got my dummy image. Boom, we don't need that anymore that we're using for spacing. Okay, so we want my logo to show up, and I'm just going to drag this bigger. It's going to be centered at the top, but I know I needed about 323% and centered right at the top. Go back to our library, and in motion graphics, bottom thirds, I'm going to grab this one and drag it down. I know I want that one on there, and I can set the settings on this. So I want it to show my website and my company name.
All right, this is something you need to do. What I'm doing now is going out and grabbing my Notepad file that has all of my branding color information on it, right? So I have a logo, and on that logo is a blue and a gold, or blue and a yellow, whichever one you call it. Those have very specific color codes to them. And I have saved those color codes and variations of them in a Notepad file so that I can quickly refer back to them, copy and paste them into things like this, so that I carry forward my exact coloring and so that my branding stays intact. And that's very important. So I recommend, if you don't already have one, have a Notepad file. You're going to see mine here in just a minute. Have a Notepad file that has your branding information on it, your colors, your type font, all that kind of stuff. You want to have all of that quickly and easily accessible so that you can get to it and input it into things like Camtasia or Photoshop or whatever it is that you're working in to carry forward your exact color information so that nothing goes awry and your branding stays intact no matter what you're working on.
Okay, now I've got my notebook here. I'm going to grab the hex code for my yellow branding color. I'm going to plunk it right in there so this circle is yellow. I'm going to grab the blue hex color. I'm going to use that as the second color so you can see what's happening here. I've got a yellow dot that comes up. It's matching my yellow. I've got a blue bar that comes out and it's matching my blue, and the gray's fine. I'm going to leave that on there. Website, business name, all that is happening. I'm going to back this up so that I can match that right about there with a fade in of my logo. So I want my logo to fade in and match right about the timing of that circle before my website starts scrolling across the page there. Add an end fade out transition and move it
to right about there. So as this little bottom third deal is finished, I want my logo to then fade out. And let's grab our background, and that's going to be the end of our clip, so we're going to fade that out as well. Perfect. There we go. So the logo fades in, the bottom third bar starts going, and the background is showing in the background. The bottom third goes away, and the logo fades out. Look at how beautiful that is. None of this was difficult, right? This is all super simple. So I like to have my audio and everything on the bottom tracks, on track 1 and 2. It's just a thing for me. So I'm going to go back to the library, moved everything up and out of the way. So go back to the library. We've got some music tracks free for you to use here in Camtasia. Grab one that works for you and move it down to the track. Although the volume is too loud, so I'm going to move that down to about 15%. You can see that changes the volume on it. And we're going to drag that music clip all the way back to the end of our project here. So that matches up. Drag it right back. Boom, snaps in there, and we're going to fade that out. So we're going to our audio effects and do a fade out on the audio. So as it gets to the end of the clip, the audio just fades out. And this is where you put your voiceovers. There you go. Remember to save your project and you're ready to render. All right, so if you followed all of these steps, you should have a video that looks like this. The one I showed at the beginning, I'll show it again just to remind you, now that you've seen the steps that it took to get through and to make this video in Camtasia, all the things and the pieces that make all these things do what they're doing. I'm going to remind you and show you that video again so that you can see exactly, now that you'll understand when watching it this time, you can pick apart, oh yeah, that's when this thing was doing that, and that's when this thing was doing that. So you'll be able to do that while you're watching this video again. Now I've gone back after these steps and I've added another piece to the beginning of it. See if you can pick it out, but it's where my website comes out. Real big and just has my website address. It's in the part where my voiceover is talking about the website and what the address is. So that's just another annotation. You've seen me go into annotations to access the area where I would get a black box to put over an element. You can add text annotations. You can add call out boxes. There's several different things that you can do in there. I just grabbed a box with a background color. I changed the background color. I changed the border color to match my own branding. Changed the font style to match my own branding. All that kind of stuff. So here's another look at the video, and you have the steps now where you can make one to look exactly like this one. So have fun, make your video, and here it is.
As a business owner, how do you choose where to focus your marketing efforts? KenCollinsMarketing.com has the answers. Ken and his team offer design, marketing, and advertising solutions to fit you. Look for our messenger bot to get answers now. Learn more about our agency, get some DIY advice from our Ken Drives videos, or take a break with our talk show, Ken's Think Tank. KenCollinsMarketing.com has something to benefit you. Get a new website or logo at the most affordable rates in the industry. Our marketing services are the best you'll find. Get more reviews, better search engine rankings, and more. Our Facebook advertising service can scale from simple to incredibly complex and fantastically effective. Do yourself a favor in this ever-changing and confusing digital world. Visit KenCollinsMarketing.com. It's simple. We help business owners get more customers.